Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Najwa Husseini with Azadi News. Boat carrying Rohingya refugees stranded off Indonesia's Aceh. Burmese terror tactics were perfected against Rohingya. A boat carrying scores of Rohingya refugees, including women and children, broke down and was stranded in waters off the coast of Aceh province on Indonesia's Sumatra Island, local authorities and humanitarian groups said on Monday. Rohingya refugees from Burma have for years sailed to countries such as Malaysia, Thailand, and Indonesia between November and April when the seas are calm. The United Nations Refugee Agency UNHCR said on Monday the boat carrying the Rohingya was spotted on Sunday in waters off Buruan, Aceh, and it was working with local authorities to rescue the group. There were about 70 refugees in the boat, Amnesty International's Indonesia branch said, citing local authorities. Badruddin Joseph, a local fishing community leader, estimated the number aboard at 120 and said they had been given food. Amnesty said fishermen had appealed to local authorities to rescue the stranded Rohingya. There needs to be joint responsibility between regional countries to conduct search and rescue so that refugees can avoid dangers at sea, said Amnesty Indonesia Executive Director Usman Hamid. Hundreds of Rohingya refugees have reached Aceh at intervals over the past few years, all of whom had been at sea for months. More evidence of mass killings is emerging amid the Myanmar junta's crackdown on pro-democracy rebels. Last weekend, at least 35 civilians were murdered in Khobor township and their bodies burned. There is also evidence of at least 40 men being rounded up, tortured, and killed in 4 incidents in June. These follow previous testimonies of human rights abuses as the military regime, which took power in a coup in February, attempts to stamp its authority on a tenaciously resistant civilian populace. The latest revelations will increase pressure on the international community to confront the junta more directly. However, in truth, these kinds of tactics are par for the course for the military, the armed forces of Burma. Blatant disregard for human life has been widespread among the military during the decades-long conflict, with ethnic rebels fighting for greater autonomy, as seen in the shelling of civilian communities and the use of mass starvation as a weapon of war. Both tactics have been shown to have been in use in offensives against areas that are resisting military authority or communities that continue to demand the reinstatement of the civilian government elected late last year. Meanwhile, terrorizing communities by rounding up and publicly killing the men as well as sexually abusing women and even minors, were attested during the Burma's genocide of the Rohingya minority during 2016 and 2017. The Burmese military has been deploying the tactics of genocide against ethnic minority groups in the borderlands for decades. But now it's using the same tactic against what is supposed to be its political base, the Buddhist Burmese majority in the heartlands of the country. It appears that the rebels are increasingly cognizant of the fact that the junta has no more regard for them than it had for the Rohingya. They now know that they are fighting an enemy with whom there can be no compromise. What is remarkable about the situation, however, is the apparent lack of strategic comprehension by those leading the crackdowns. The same atrocities have failed to beat into submission most of the ethnic rebels in the borderlands, which is why Myanmar is known as the home of the longest civil war in the world, and against the much broader civilian population of the country. These tactics have appeared to increase support for and the resolve of the pro-democracy movement as the crackdowns escalated over the course of this year. This is today's news. To get more updates about Rohingya, subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell. Visit our website azaditvnews.com and follow our social media accounts. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.